I think I like this angle better. So I'm saying that because I had set this up earlier and had the camera flipped, and I just kept looking this way, but the camera was over here. Drove me nuts. Oh man. So okay, this is actually yesterday about the same time. I was really excited. I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna get ahead on this sort of thing and get my journal all done and gussied up and uploaded and all that sort of thing. And I meandered a little bit too long on some stuff that I didn't really want to. I'm gonna go. I'll tell you guys real quick what it was. So essentially, I had you know how it is whenever you'll get into an online argument. I try not to do that anymore, and I'm not gonna wax poetic on this for too long. All that happened essentially was that it was the stupidest of situations. It was one person's opinion versus one person's opinion. That's all it was. Without going into it, I am consistently amazed how strong an opinion can be, even to the point of overriding a fact. And I mean that both ways. It had to do with history, which is always a big thing that I will get into an argument over historical factors for a lot of reasons, especially if it has to do with indigenous history or the history of America or that sort of thing. But needless to say, it was fruitless at best. All that ended up happening was two people got rather annoyed and offended at one another and didn't really solve anything. Nobody listens in those things. You don't win online arguments. And if you do, it is such a rare thing that you should take a screenshot of it and put it on your wall, frame it, and let everybody that comes by your house, I won on Twitter or Facebook or wherever the hell it happened, because it's an enigma, really. It's so weird. But after that, I went and ran some errands because I was like, no, screw this. I need to get out and just do something else, like just get some breath of fresh air, that sort of thing. And I rarely go to thrift stores anymore or anything else like that, since, like, as I've been saying, like, since budgets have been kind of tight and stuff, and you know, but occasionally I'll go somewhere and pick up something and stuff like that. And I don't have this. There's a project I'm going to be working on that will involve, if I can still get it to work, my old video camera. And this camera is so old that, well, it's not so old. It's not like one of those gigantic, like, arm cannon looking things, but it's a, if I remember right, it's a Sanyo, but I could be wrong on that brand. Nonetheless, it uses a type of video cassette that is not a beta or a VHS. It is one of these. And this is the price I paid here for that. It was freaking brilliant. I love this thing. I have not stumbled across a VHS-C cart in a while. In fact, when I took it up there, the guy was like, oh yeah, I used to love playing on that video game system. I was like, what? And all that's wrong with it is there's a little bit of it coming off. I'm probably going to do a small video separate of this, talking about the video project idea I had. Sometimes I love old tech like this. It's one of the reasons why you guys can't see it. Maybe it's right there. The little video camera that's in the back, or the digital camera I have. I wanted to try and take the effort to produce something that used a lot more lower res video and not up-res it, but refine it as good as I could to present it in its pristine fashion at that point, more for the garish color aspect of it. And in fact, I had shared this with a friend of mine earlier. I stumbled across somebody who reviewed a photographer, and I was looking for my phone, and I'm actually recording on it at this time. And this photographer was alive during the 50s, and it wasn't anything where it was a big movement or anything else like that. In fact, I'll probably put an overlay here with the name of the photographer, because I feel really bad about not remembering it, not having written any show notes about it. But he would use expired color film. And what it does is, because of how the chemicals work, how you develop things, and the nature of the film, it would make this hyper saturated coloration that was, in my opinion, a notch above. It was insane. It was like letting somebody loose in Photoshop with the saturation tools and the histogram, whatever, just everything, and just pumping it all up. It looked like an early Green Day video. It was just gloriously saturated color, vibrant, enigmatic. It was just all of these things. And I'll put a link to the video on TikTok if I can find it again. It was really freaking brilliant. It made me really miss working with film. That whole thing of, did I or did I not get the photo? That sort of a thing. And recently, as time's gone by, I've become more and more obsessed with like various types of media. I'm still on the hunt for the cable for this other digital camera, but for my video camera, that's another thing, in the fact that I think it will still work without a battery, but I have one battery, and it's a NiCad battery for it, and I probably should have taken this thing in to be recycled a long time ago, but I got to find it now. And yeah, it uses these, and it's really funny because this only has two types of recording format. You know how like on VHSs you could do like I think it was EP, SLP, and SP, I think it was. This one has SP and EP, SP being 30 minutes and then EP being 90 minutes. And if you don't know anything about VHS or anything else like that, the longer quality ones, basically the tape is playing slower, so you're utilizing less of it, but you end up with a higher level of granulature. Colors are a little more fuzzy, detail isn't as good, the sound is even degraded somewhat. It just depends on how the recording head captures it. And this is no different. The video camera, I was always an early adopter for a lot of things, and back then, I know this sounds crazy, but this is totally true. I actually bought that video camera because I wanted it to have, first of all, I wanted something portable. So it's really not that big. I wish I had it on me. For the life of me, I can't find it. It was really pretty nice. It had a little foldable scope. You look through it and everything. It was a Panasonic. It was a Panasonic, not a Sanyo. And whenever I used it, like the little side open, you could put the cartridge in there. For a long time, I had it in an adapter that you would plug it into a VHS-sized adapter that it would sit in, and then you could play it in any VCR. For the life of me, I don't know what the hell happened to that thing. So I was in a band years ago, years and years ago, I'm talking like high school, early college, called Gut Wrench, and I wasn't in it very long. I didn't really have the patience. I was pretty terrible about it, but I played guitar, and I was rhythm guitar. It was okay. It was like any other garage band, but I was kind of fascinated because I remember it's the very first time I got into wanting to do video recording of any kind, because they were like, well, you got this video camera. I'm like, I do. They had like a digital zoom and everything, and we didn't know anything about this stuff back then. So I was just excited I had it, and there was a cassette somewhere, a VHS-C cassette somewhere that has our performance on there. Now, I was the video camera guy at that time. I was no longer in the band, and it was a 4-piece band, and they performed at a bar, and for the life of me, I don't remember where the bar was, but it's this slice of 90s that I wish I could get back, because it was stunning. It was just crazy. And I want to say one of the guys in the band, they asked to borrow the video cassette, and they took it. And after that, I have no idea what the hell happened. It really bugged me that I lost that. That's gone. I know I'm never going to get that back. I'll probably never find it again. And, it's a little devastating when you think about lost media and stuff like that. But that was one of the things that really, changing back to a happier note, that was one of the things I wanted to try, was some sort of an experiment with like lower fidelity, lower resolution stuff. It's nothing new. There's plenty of people doing that sort of stuff. And then with the renaissance of, people releasing cassettes and other types of media, like records and stuff, which has been a hot thing for a while, I just wanted to do something that might be a little bit more fun as far as YouTube was concerned. Because I record, I don't know if many people even know this. I got the idea from Harris Keller and a few other YouTubers. I record everything I do in 4K, but I keep none of my source files. There's no reason to. This is fairly disposable content. In a couple of years, it'll be just a reference point for me. I mean, I don't think anyone's really going to care or go back and look at stuff that in depth. end up, watch, I'm going to end up running for political office, and all of somebody's going to be coming over everything like that. Like, well, on this day, this jackass said this. But no, it's something where I end up uploading this, and when I upload it, I just do standard HD, which is like, well, no, not standard. I do maybe 1920 by 1080 or something like that. I don't do very high, and I cut everything down to either 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second, as opposed to keeping it real high end. One, because I don't have the fastest upload here. Two, because that's just a lot to mess with, and I edit all of my videos on my phone. I use an app called Video Leap, which is a hell of a lifesaver. I don't need to use After Effects and a lot of other things. It's all built into this app, and so I use it on my phone, and I've been able to increase the pipeline of what I'm creating consistently, and it's really helped me get back on track with anything I'm creating. So the really cool thing has been that, you know, I wanted to do something more, and I understand that's probably going to, you know, necessitate me finding a way to digitize the stuff over onto a computer, but it was something I really thought was cool, and I never thought I was going to run across this, because it was on a lark. I stopped in there. I even picked up a little miniature travel board that was like, you know, race through space, and it was like magnetic and has like 4 pieces and a die that comes with it, a 6-sided die, so you roll it, and it's just for kids to play or whatever. But I was like, this is so neat. This is just a weird little game. And then a Tamagotchi of Mrs. Pac-Man, which I don't know where I put it now. But yeah, just finding this, and I remember this distinctly, buying these. I think I bought like 4 or 5, and then I didn't really end up doing much more with it. I have no idea what this has been through, if it was sitting somewhere hot. I have no idea, but I'm going to give it a try later whenever I get hopefully when the camera is working and running. The good news is I believe it did have a setup to run it just via, you know, a wall outlet, but it didn't have it. If that camera battery is fried, I may be able to find somebody that manufactures one, but I'm always really weird about old tech like that and buying batteries. Third-party batteries can be so strange. So strange. I actually belong to a battery group that, isn't that weird? There's everything on the internet. And they discuss a lot about things, everything from like chemical compositions to polarities to, you know, what good replacements will work, what you can do in a pinch if you need, you know, different batteries and you don't have a certain size. Interesting stuff, phenomenally interesting to people like me, you know, who love dumb shit like that they can keep together with it. It's not dumb shit. It's really cool stuff. But a lot of other people are like, really? You read forums on batteries? Yeah, I do. I really do. And a lot of other really weird micro hobbies like that. The reason I also decided to re-record this, as I've been doing with a lot of other ones, I keep finding myself leaning way in to a lot of stuff that I don't want to talk about that isn't necessarily about art. I was like, I got to cut that out. I got to cut back on it. Not because it's things that I don't want to talk about, but if I'm trying to build a very distinct and focused bit of content for this channel, I'm really trying to stay, I hate that term, stay in my lane. There are so many times that I'm recording these videos, right? And I'm doing this stuff, and I can't believe that this is something I do. I'm not making money from this. I mean, I'm not verified or anything like that on YouTube, nothing like that. But I can't believe that this is something that I'm trying to do to market myself. Like, it's just kind of a trip, right? Like when I post a video on TikTok and I get replies or anything else like that, yeah, big whoop, right? It's social media, that happens. But I do like whenever it leads to people at shows talking to me about things and stuff like that. There was a concept that came out, not a concept, a story that came out recently talking about how one of the largest aspects that is happening today that they feel will be part of the real next wave of, for lack of a better term, trauma or issues that people have to deal with is loneliness. And I find that to be, you know, a little distressing, more than a little bit distressing. Loneliness can be a weird thing. I've experienced it plenty, right? Mainly, believe it or not, mainly in a crowd. Like if I'm having a bad show and no one's coming by, loneliness. If I'm working at a place where I don't fit in, or I don't feel like I'm needed, loneliness, you know. So it's variant versions of it. You know, it can also manifest if you're online and you're making posts or you're talking and that sort of thing, and you don't either get reactions or interactions or whatever. That can wear you down too as well. And something that I thought was, I really do miss doing shows, and thankfully, you know, I've got one, maybe now two shows that are lined up, maybe a third one way down the way. I'm not sure yet. I've applied for a few others, see if I'm going to get in there. I had really been gun shy. I'm not going to lie. I had done that video about C2E2 and talked. I think I did publish that one, and it was real short. But I was going to talk about a few other things that happened there, just in general with the whole year of 2022. I think that there's a lot more that needs to be said there, because I feel that people should be able to be open about what goes on for them and talk through it. And right about the time that I was thinking about that sort of thing, I was like, well, that might be a little boring or over the top, because who really wants to hear about that shit? One of the most cathartic things I'd ever seen was John Mulaney's recent comedy special on Netflix. I watched it last night, in fact, and that is very much part of the reason why I'm redoing this video. In it, he was fairly blunt about a good 60% of what he went through. And I didn't know this. When I first saw his very first comedy special and I knew of him through SNL, you know, I thought, oh, this guy's pretty straight and narrow. He's on the level, you know. There's no high turn fancy to do bullshit with him. And so what did happen was, I found out as I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh my God, this guy was on drugs. He was doing all kinds of things. He was depressed. He went through, you know, an intervention. It was all this stuff, and he went into rehab, and his marriage fell apart and all these other things. And he took that and he wrapped it all up. He took it like a sheet of paper, crumpled it all up, and then he unfolded it and pressed it back down and gave it out in the form of a comedy special. He's not the first person to do that. Good comedy, good humor comes from dark and painful places. It can come from a lot of things. It can come from pure and honest and good feeling things. But when you hurt, when you can look back at pain and laugh at it and bring humor about it and relatability, that is a hell of a thing. That is a really crazy, crazy, wonderful ability to be able to have. And that's something that I thought about too. I was having second thoughts about a lot of what I film and create and do. And that helped me kind of push over into another zone. And honestly, quite frankly, I did not have a lot of get up and go for the last couple of days. I was really feeling under the weather. I wasn't getting things done. I'm like, you've got projects piling up. You got to shut up and get to work. You've got to get things done. And regardless of what's happening, regardless of how people will treat you, dude, you've got to push forward. You have to. Because the truth is, you know, we don't have a whole hell of a lot of time. We don't. None of us do. And the reason for that is we just don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. We just don't know. And it does remind me every day, like when there are people that I've been talking to and stuff like that, I'll reach out to people via Messenger or whatever and just say, hey, here's a meme. Here's a little note. Hi, how are you doing? That sort of thing. Just because at the very least, I'm trying my best to reach out to as many people as I can here and there. I'm not always that successful. I'm not. It's not been the easiest thing to do that. And the crazy part is, of the people I know, quite a few, you know, some of them have some different jobs, some different lifestyles, and catching up with people, but also trying to really remind myself, dude, that's good. But the truth is, I have a lot that I'm still trying to do, and at the exact same time, I'm trying not to overwhelm myself. So it becomes a really challenging thing to try and overcome. It's really kind of crazy. Oh, I can show you guys something I'm working on too. This is hidden deep enough in the video that no one's really going to give a shit that much. Unless you're here watching it that long, then you're a winner. This is a little robot body. Kind of an homage to RoboForce, but so what this is I say this and then watch, it may actually happen. I had put in for a mural, and they wanted some trash cans painted. And when I looked at them, I was like, these look like Star Wars droids. So I was going to do either R2-D2 or something like that, but because they all had lines, like every couple of, like there were panels, and the panels were like maybe an inch to an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches wide, but they circled around it, and then the gaps in between were almost 3/4 to 1 inch wide. So it was a very strange looking thing. So I tried to make something that would be a bit more, you can picture this as a trash can. It would be a bit bigger. The trash cans were about, maybe 3.5 feet tall, something like that. Average trash can size, whatever that would be. And they had these, some of them had metal lids on them and stuff. They were really funny. I didn't talk about it for a long time because I was like, oh, I want to get this, I want to get this, I want to get this. They had to be presented to the city. I have no freaking clue where that went. Haven't heard back from the dude who was in charge of that project. It was just an idea he had. It could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. So instead, I'm taking the work that I put into this quite a while back, and I'm going to make these little kits that you can download and print off. Now, if I can show you guys, I don't think I can. I glued this bastard together really well. Okay, so I'm going to show you the inside, right? So this is the outside. What I did was I designed the inside and the mechanicals of it. So you can see the circuitry, the CPU fan that's inside, everything else like that on the inside of these guys. And so this is just the body. There is a head that will go on top. And this is made out of like paper. It's meant to be printed on cardstock and then using double-sided tape. But I'm going to work on some tab build outs here to really make it all come together. And then it's going to have some sort of feet. I either have treads or feet that I'm going to be working on this with. I have always loved paper craft, and that's been something I've seen growing in some of the creative circles I'm in. So I wanted to make a few versions of these. I will have black and white printouts, I believe, at one of my next shows. I'm trying to figure out when, how much it's going to cost, what it's even going to be like. I have no idea yet. And these color ones are going to be digital downloads. They're going to be super cheap. They're not going to be that much at all. And when you do the digital download, it's going to be, it's all on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. Super easy to cut. That's the one thing, though, whenever you're making any paper craft kind of stuff, is like deciding how you're doing this, because it's nothing that's perforated. It's nothing that's professionally made. This is something that you buy the file from me, you print it out on preferably cardstock, and then do whatever you want with it. And to a certain degree, you can't resell it. I have to be careful whenever I'm doing this, because it's like, well, he said in his video I could do whatever I wanted, and then like before I know it, Disney owns it or some shit. Or Hallmark will come back and be just like, God damn it, he probably made that on whenever he was working for us or some shit. And I'm like, no, no. No, I did other shit when I worked for you, but I didn't do that. Yeah, so that's the idea behind it, and I really liked a lot of it. And if you look down the bottom, I don't know if you can even see that, but down there, I got my URL down there. There's a couple of ways just to kind of watermark it, protect it, that sort of thing. But there's some variant versions of this one. This is just the only one that I printed out. And I'm looking forward to doing some more stuff like that. I've been trying to look and find other ways to create things that I can make digital downloads, other stuff like that, to help bolster my business. And starting this, probably either by the end of this month or the beginning of next month, I've got a whole host of other things I want to try and push out there, because, man, I'm telling you, ever since I got blocked out of Etsy and now I've been struggling trying to rebuild what the hell I'm doing, it has not been fun. This has been really, really bad, and I'm not enjoying it, because I need the shows to be able to get the attention, to get people to the websites to make the purchases, or to just do the shows and have the store up just as kind of an afterthought if people want to get stuff. But it almost always seems that it really doesn't seem, it really is, that when I do sell, it is always 95, I think it's 95% of the time I am selling in person. I am way more successful in person at a good show selling stuff than I ever will be online. And it drives me banana. But that's what I'm going to try and figure out today. So, boy, I feel glad. I feel so much better having gotten that out now and gotten that on down on video. So yeah, I did think it'd be really funny to do. It's a lot of effort, though, if I ever did get my camera to start recording these journals in like this old resolution. But this is specifically meant to be something quick, down and dirty that I can edit. Like, it's going to take me like maybe 20 minutes to edit this and upload it, and that's fantastic. So it's an hour. I've got project hours where I knock out a project in an hour and I move on to the next damn thing, and it's working. Finally, it's working. And it's the only way I can fight this ADHD that I have. So Nonetheless, thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I will have more new videos for video game playthroughs and some art videos coming up soon. If you've noticed, I've been updating my TikTok playlist with a whole bunch of other stuff that most people on YouTube just don't see. So it's popular on the TikTok, but not getting quite the exposure I want over here. And most of it is I'm trying to get my channel up to a level to where I have to get, I think, 1,000 followers. Yeah, it's 1,000 followers, and I think I'm up to 96. I've been on here for like 10 years. And then I forget so many, like I'm not even joking. I think they said on Shorts it was like 10 million views or plays or something. I saw 10M and I was like, million in 30 days. It's for monetization, so that way for like, you know, I can be congratulated with like a nickel or something like that. I don't know. It's really strange. I'm not trying to get super popular on here. I'm just trying to get to a point to where I can start to eke out more of a living and grow beyond that. So, and I'm also, most of the videos now have also been for me to polish up on what I'm learning as far as video creation, content, all that other stuff. Because anymore, honestly, and I'll end on this, the more jobs I look for out there that I'm just like, hey, I want to try to do some freelance work and stuff like that. Oh my God. I'm honestly surprised that most of the jobs don't always also have things like, you know, right after Adobe Creative Suite and knowing animation, you know, that, you know, do you also bookbind? Do you happen to cross stitch? You know, are you really, really, really good at giving massages? Like there's just this whole lexicon of just bullshit that I see on these listings, and it's gotten worse. It's almost a parody to the point to where when you go looking for a job, like, am I overqualified or underqualified, or how in the hell did I manage to be both at the same time and just manage to cancel myself? Like that is the craziest part about it. Is there are moments when I genuinely look at things and go, I managed to read through this job posting, and where I thought I was in good standing at the beginning, I get down to the qualifications, which almost always seem like it's an AI written form. Like they didn't really know what they wanted, so they just asked for everything under the sun. And I think that as long as you can get in the door, you might be okay for trying for these jobs. But I really don't think HR is doing what it's supposed to do at most of these jobs. And I mean that across the board. I even looked at other job positions outside of creative, and I'm like, holy shit, it's still the same thing there. Like it's just really weird what they ask you to be able to do. Like I've seen restaurant listings for people, just a cashier, and, you know, must be able to live, I think it was like 50 pounds and be good with people, have a background in communication is preferred and all this other stuff. And I'm like, the job is paying $15 an hour. You're not working for the UN, you know, it's really weird. And I understand that companies are trying to do what they can, but are they? Because as one last little bit of wisdom that I was suddenly espoused upon me recently, I use a print-on-demand company, or I used to, for a lot of my products. Much to my dismay, this company came forward in an email and said, shipping's getting really expensive, and we don't like passing that on to the customers. So we're going to not cover some of that, and we're going to have it be on you. that was like, what? I mean, that to me was really nuts. What they just, so when essentially, if you have a print on demand, this particular company, and I'm certain others will probably end up moving toward this, because, you know, they all love to hang in the same sort of circles. Let's say that they're just like, hey, this guy ordered this figure, okay, and he really needs this figure because it's great for posability and stuff, and that's $25. Now they're probably going to be okay with tax, right? Okay, can you imagine the sound tank, the think tank this was in? And they were like, but you know, with Amazon doing the Amazon thing they're doing, we just need to offer some sort of free shipping thing or something like that. And let's be honest, whenever you go on eBay and you see free shipping, it's pushed into the price. Somebody's paying for it. You are. I mean, that's why the few times I've ever done eBay, I don't offer free shipping. That's a marketing scheme, and I'd like to think that whoever's buying my thing is far smarter than that. And in this circumstance, they wanted to reduce and offer free shipping, but to do that, they were willing on their note, right, they were willing to go, okay, well, we're not wanting to pay for the shipping to get this item out to them that we're manufacturing in our area. So we're going to need you to help throw in to get that shipping out there, because we're going to try and include it out there, but we don't want to include too much in there so we don't raise the price. So we're going to need you to pay for part of it. I was like, then what the fuck was the point of that? I'll just save up money and make my own t-shirts and stuff like that. I'll figure that out if I have to. And if I don't, I don't. The artwork is the most important thing. I don't really need someone to wear a shirt with my stuff on there. And that sounds crazy, but when it comes down to this sort of thing, no, I don't need that. So, and it can definitely be a really daunting thing to deal with. Who knows? It just gets to be sunnier and sunnier being a creative person every day. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next journal.